basically maybe 2 or 3 times that we were just mad at each other and we were like totally screaming at each other.
But I made a decision. I ain't gonna let these people bother me.
Yeah, that's what he say. I ain't gonna let
my wife
he talking about
and
me
my
and the kids.
get under
not
my
these
skin
people.
ever
I was
again.
like, who he talking about?
He was talking about me and the kids.
I ain't gonna let these people take me there. No,
Because the thing is,
That's how the kids get it.
never
I know the
again.
kids be like, what we do?
Never will I allow them to take me there again.
I can remember one time we had one argument and he was just mad at all 3 of us. He passed one of them and I think he was like, what I do? Like you arguing with mama, what I do?
I went off
And
on
get out
her,
my way.
Everybody can get it.
Everybody catching this smoke.
put my finger in one of them face.
Oh yeah, he told one of them to stop being what did you say?
Stop being a little old bee.
And they both standing there looking at me
then
like,
through my shoulder and the other way. Get out my way.
that was really directed to her.
That was the line you didn't get to use.
And
the argument.
And that was
God, I chose to make scarred.
that was the moment I said,
Yeah, I think that was the
I
last. He
ain't
was
gonna
like,
never let these people push me to this
And the
level
kids
of
didn't
anger
even
and
do it.
frustration no more. Never would I let them push me to this level.
The kids
Ever
looking
again.
like,
That is so funny. This is
Bruh,
marriage.
what we
This
do?
is the reality, y'all.
And then
I was saved.
wait a minute.
Let's talk about it.
I was
Okay.
And
saved
the
full of the
second
Holy.
With me having to relearn, reprocess, rethink what sex was, that was like taking a part of my identity away.
Just because you may need to seek help or you may be in transition and things may not be right, it doesn't necessarily mean that your marriage is bad.
Marriage is a roller coaster ride that never ends.
From the twists of having children, to the turns of overly involved parents, or the highs of buying a new home, to the lows of unexpected lifestyle changes.
Marriage is dope, but let's be honest, fam. Marriage really be tiring.
Welcome to the Left Hand Gang podcast, hosted by Jazz and Spoon.
Yo, what's good, everybody? It's the Left Hand Gang. That's when you supposed to jump in and say something.
I thought you was gonna say something else, so I was ready. I was waiting, jump the game, My bad.
So we're gonna run it back.
Real quick, I'm ready.
No, we're not gonna do
I
it.
knew you weren't.
I hope y'all doing all right.
What up, gang?
What up, y'all? Man, we hope y'all
Mic
are.
is weird today.
Is it weird today?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, I might fix it. We'll see.
I can't look at you today.
All right, that's fine. You supposed to look at them anyway.
But I'm talking to you.
I know. You can talk. You can look in the camera and see me and talk to me that way.
Whatever.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yep.
Come on, let's go, baby.
But you gotta go.
Just go.
Just go. Y'all know how we do. Y'all know we be acting childish and everything. But man, what we talked about last time? What do we have?
It was Heather, right?
Well, we had Heather, but we also did the conference.
Yes. We did do that. Yes.
So we really hope that y'all enjoyed that and everything. Hope y'all enjoyed my sister Heather as she came through and just talked about singleness. And man, her DMs are still open.
Yeah.
FYI, DMs are open.
But you gotta send it to us. You're not gonna find her.
It's through us. We're gonna filter it out.
She's not on social media right now.
Yeah, she fasting, but
yeah.
they are open through the Left Hand Gang. We gonna take care of that. What's happening with you, girl? What you got going on?
Yikes.
Yikes.
I don't know. I don't have anything exciting. Okay, I have one thing exciting that's really no one else will care about. I'm reading Bridgerton and it's so good. I watched the series, but I'm like really enjoying reading the book. I've been reading a lot of nonfiction books and I just switched to fiction and it's so much easier. Like I don't have to think while I read.
Because you don't have to work.
Yeah, I can just enjoy it. It's like watching a movie in my mind and I can just drift off forever. So that's something exciting that I've been dabbling in.
That's how you know you're getting old. When you you read nonfiction books, and you're excited about reading nonfiction books. That's you old, bro.
I am.
Yeah, you old.
It's okay.
But another thing about getting old, this just randomly hit me. Random. Me and the guys on the group chat, somebody had got a new vacuum.
A new vacuum.
They got a new vacuum, and homie was like, "Yo, this is my new favorite toy." And I'm like,
That's how you
That's
know.
how you know when you start to,
Yep.
appreciate and love on appliances.
Yep. Can't knock
Air
that.
fryers and electric mops and Swiffers and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we getting old.
What's new with you, or what's going on with you?
Everything. Yeah, I don't even know which one to talk about. So I started a new job. Amen. Thank you, Jesus.
Hallelujah.
Been
Okay.
praying for that because y'all know how
Hallelujah.
23 was for us.
Baby.
So it was raggedy and trash, and yeah, it was raggedy, bro.
It was busted.
God was with us, but it was raggedy. Yeah, it was raggedy. But yeah, I start the new job in a few days, and still taking over a lot of responsibility with the ministry and stuff. I got a new class that I'm taking. I got the podcast editing service.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going down. I'm really excited for this project that I'm working on. It's been really, really dope. Among other things, I'm not gonna bore y'all with everything on my laundry list, but as usual, I'm juggling a lot of things. But what I will say is I'm learning how to identify which out of all the things that I'm juggling, which one's a rubber ball and which one are glass balls.
Okay.
Because if I drop, some of them are rubber balls, and if I drop them, they just gonna hit the floor and bounce back up. But the other ones, they glass. If I drop them, they're not coming back up. They're gonna shatter on the ground. So I'm in that season of deciphering what's rubber and what's glass as I juggle it all, and what I can and can't, what I can and cannot juggle or hold on to.
Adulting, prioritizing.
Yep, all of that stuff. Yeah, so that's been my biggest thing. That's been my biggest thing.
Bet.
So what's happening?
Yo, who we got with us today?
I have no idea. I've never met these people a day in my life.
What?
Not ever.
They knew
Never.
you when you were a little baby, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know about baby, but at least little kid.
Yeah, about 4, 5, somewhere around there.
So
They've been knowing me.
You may not know them as well, but you know them.
Yeah, I know. They really my mama friends. You know how it is.
They're my mama
My
friends.
mama friends. Nah, but we have Reko and Kysha Holland with us in the building. Pastor. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Let me say that. Pastor Reko.
The
Pastor
scratch.
Kysha. From scratch preacher. The from scratch preacher.
Yeah.
We thank y'all for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So who y'all is? What set y'all claim? Where y'all from?
What's that y'all claim?
I'm from around the way, man.
Yeah. She put that quiet storm
Right.
very
He
white boy.
did. I was like, wait, why he get all smooth on us?
I tell people all the time, I was conceived in the Midwest, born out west, raised in the South, and so I claim the South.
Okay, we'll take it.
Louisiana, Texas, all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take it.
I'm a little different. I'm a funky town.
Funky town.
817-76104 kind of girl.
Okay.
Fort Worth, Texas, born and raised.
So you can see who had more stability in their home life.
Right. We'll get to that.
So what's more
stable, right?
Right.
So let's talk about stability. We're just gonna go there.
Right.
Oh man. So what's y'all story? Like how did y'all meet? All of that stuff. There's always two stories.
They
There's
were
always-
arguing before we turned the cameras
Right,
on.
right.
About who could tell the story
could tell
because
it.
this person don't tell it right.
Or the other person shaming the other
Yeah.
one.
Right.
So I don't know who y'all decided on, but we can hold space for both.
Right.
I'm gonna let him tell the story since he talks about me telling the story of how we met.
Well,
That's a cool hoodie, by the way.
oh, thank you, sir. Somebody I know sells these.
That's cool. That's cool.
I need to ask you about that too anyway.
Right.
But one day I was playing basketball and had plans on going to the strip club afterwards.
Let's
So
be
I
real.
was playing basketball with my god brother and two of my god brothers and my brother. And so I was recently new to the area, just moved here from Louisiana. And afterwards, me and my god brother, the younger one, so it was two god brothers, the older one that was closer to my brother's age, my older brother's age, and then one closer to my age. And so he and I said, man, we're going to go to the strip club, man, get your clothes after we play this game. You know, we're going to shower up, take you back to my place. We're going to shower up and and we're going out. Cool. We've done it before, done it several times before, and you know, kind of enjoyed it. But anyway,
Yeah.
How old were you at this time?
21.
Okay.
Okay.
I was 21, and so I get there and I take my shower and iron my clothes, put my clothes on. Well, while he's getting ready, I see some photos that are on their wall and on, you know, the mantle. I'm just walking around looking at photos, and there was a photo of a group of girls, and I was like, "Well, man, who is that right there?" and I said, "Well, I'll ask him when he get back and when he comes out." So he came out. I said, "Hey, man, who is this right here? Who are these girls?" And he was like, "Oh, at the time he was dating her cousin."
Okay.
And so he started telling me who all the girls were, and I said, "Well, who was that one?" And he was like, "Oh, that's Kysha. She gonna be over here in about an hour, man. You want to stick around and meet her?" I said, "Yeah, cool." And so I stayed around, and ultimately she came in about an hour or so. And it wasn't the same girl I saw in the photo.
Okay, let's talk about that.
It wasn't the same girl.
Well, Photoshop wasn't out.
The
then,
Photoshop
so-
wasn't out back
She had a
then.
new,
was
she had a
my
different hairstyle,
It was
or
my cousin's senior pictures, her graduation pictures. So for one of her senior pictures, she wanted her older cousins in the picture with her.
Okay.
So you
Of
were
course, it
done
was like
up?
if you from, if you from Fort Worth, Glamourcraft.
Okay.
Okay.
So it was like at the
Okay.
studio.
Okay, I
This was
see.
during the season when girls used to get the asymmetric hairstyle.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
I had that all going on.
And so, but when she came through the door, she had a dad cap on.
Okay.
And I think
Gym shorts
some gym
and a t-shirt.
shorts and a raggedy t-shirt.
It is.
And she just looked raggedy.
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, wait a minute, this is
that's the same Kysha.
yeah, exactly. But
Kysha.
but needless to say, we ended up exchanging numbers, connecting, and built a deeper connection. And as things went on, you know, it got better. So
Okay.
now I'm gonna let her tell her side
Okay.
because
Okay.
her the way she tells it, it's engagement and marriage shaming.
It's not.
Okay.
It's just the reality.
Come on,
of,
Do
Kysha.
tell.
So, like he said, that is how we met. He kind of leaves out the part that only did I have a t-shirt on, gym shorts, tennis shoes, I was in tow with a newborn baby.
Oh yeah.
So an important factor in all of this is I'm in tow with a newborn
That
baby.
is important, but somehow he don't see that and when he remembers. That's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well-
he doesn't see that there was a 4-month-old
Well,
baby.
he
I
knew
guess it 4
there
months.
was, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's not a big part
To
for
him,
him.
it wasn't a big part. But
Yeah, I saw
was in-
you. I didn't see no baby.
Yeah.
right. So I have a 4-month-old baby with me, and like he said, we kind of talked. So we dated for a month. Month 2, going
We
into
moved in
3, we
together.
moved in together.
So we was
Wait, month
shacking.
2, y'all
Yeah.
moved in together?
Yeah,
We was shagging
Yeah,
up.
we were
Y'all must have been
shacking.
talking real heavy in month 1 because I didn't know nobody well by month 2
Yeah,
to want to
yeah.
move
You know,
in.
there was some other circumstances that I kind of had going on with my living situation.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so it was, he was being who he is. He was just like, I just think you and Kendall just need to move in with me. So I guess 3 months after we met, we decided that we were just going to go to the courthouse and get married because we started going to church, and we were like, either I was going to have to go find my own apartment because we just didn't want to live like that anymore. And so we were like, well, let's just get married. So we got engaged on a Monday.
Oh, let's just get married.
We told our families, and we were like, hey, we're going to the courthouse in Arlington. Be there, be square. Who showed up, and we got married at the courthouse.
Yeah.
3 months.
3 months.
3 months.
3 months. Yeah.
Married in 3 months.
You became a stepdad after 3 months. You was finna go to the strip club. You was still living
Yeah.
your best life at 21, and then
Exactly.
you
Isn't that
became
crazy?
a whole. You
3
hooping with
months?
the guys. Life is great.
Yeah.
And then you became a whole stepdad.
in the same
Yeah.
year.
It was just
He ain't even turned 22 yet.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like by the time
By the time we went-
married, he had just turned 20. He had been 22 maybe a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So yeah, he kind of took on that whole role kind of quickly. But I mean, the whole stepdad thing, like for me, it wasn't even like that because immediately once we decided that we were going to start dating, he immediately just went in full-fledged dad mode and pretty much Kendall would cry when he left. He would rather be with Reko than me. So it was that he would lay at the door and cry. So he just went in full-fledged dad mode. And I think that's why I had no problem after 3 months saying, let's get married. When it was like, we got to do something. We're going to church.
Now that I look back on it, it is kind of wild.
It is kind of wild.
Y'all didn't think about that before?
Kinda?
No.
It ain't
Like
kinda.
I went to
3
work the day
months.
he got married. I went to work and got there that morning. I told my supervisor, say, hey, I need to leave at noon. And she was like, what? Is everything okay? I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting married this afternoon. And she was like,
you went to work?
yeah, I went to work. I went to
She
work.
went
So
to work.
you dropped Kendall off at daycare,
I
normal
dropped Kendall
day.
off- normal day. Dropped Kendall off at daycare. I went to work, told my supervisor I need to leave early. And I told her I was getting married at 4:15 at the courthouse. And she was like, to the guy that you've only been dating for a little bit? And I was like, yeah. You sure? Yes, I'm sure. She said, okay, you can have the day off. And the thing is when I came back to work the next week, they had decorated my cubicle.
Aw.
Someone happy married. Like it was awesome because they decorated my cubicle, even though they questioned, like, are you sure? And once I told her I was sure, she was like, okay, cool. Then you can have the day off. So yeah, I went to work half a day that day.
So how many, or did y'all find that there were a lot of people who looked at y'all upside y'all's head when y'all
Of
said?
course.
Of course, because we had to make phone calls. He had to call like his dad. I needed to tell.
Y'all hadn't even met fam.
Well,
met-
she actually met my dad
I had met your dad twice.
twice.
Okay.
And you want to tell that story?
So I didn't know that so this is how fast this went. I didn't realize his dad was a bishop.
Oh, okay.
So the day that I met his dad,
That's a lot of questions that you didn't ask.
There's a lot of questions we didn't check off. So the day I met his
didn't know.
dad,
You
I
didn't
literally
know.
had on a pair of Daisy Duke shorts and a t-shirt.
Okay, cute.
I have
Okay.
3 tattoos, which were very visible in my Daisy Dukes.
Classy.
Because they were extremely short. So that's the way I met his dad. And then I traveled to Louisiana once. But the funny part is he actually met one of my grandmothers and Kendall before me.
Right.
He met my grandmother at my aunt's house, I believe. So he he knew my aunt, my grandmother before he knew me. He met Kendall because my cousin had him one day.
Okay.
He thought Kendall was my best friend's son.
Okay.
So he didn't even realize that Kendall, when he met Kendall, that wasn't Kendall's
That was the
mother.
same
he was
kid.
with. So it was just it's kind of just weird or whatever. But yes, he had met, had you met my dad?
No.
You didn't meet him till the day we got married?
No, I met him before then, I think.
Briefly, if anything, had to been brief.
I think I met him before then.
I don't remember.
don't know, man.
Like it
A
was
lot
quick, y'all.
happened.
It was really quick.
Wow.
Wow.
But we made the phone calls, and I don't remember them just like being adamant about us not doing it. They were all like, "Are y'all sure this is what you want to do?" I was more or less. Thought my grandmother would just lose it. She didn't, which was quite surprising. And she was just like, "Okay, when are you getting married? What do you need me to do? And are you sure? Are you sure this is what you want to do?" And I told her yes, and then she didn't question me anymore after that.
I think the interesting thing for me is now that you look back on it in hindsight, it was pretty crazy.
It was.
It was.
But I think it was divine order because here we are 26 years 26 years later
26.
and
3-month engagement.
it just
No.
it went by like
I don't
that.
even know if the engagement was
1 week
3 months.
engagement.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I cut you off.
You can say
Like
1
4
week
days.
pretty much
4-day engagement.
but I look back on it and there's a lot of people who dated for extended periods of time, had the whole elaborate wedding.
Oh, yeah.
And within short order, they were divorced.
Yep.
Right.
You know, so I think we always tell people don't use us as an example.
Yeah.
We do.
Because
We do.
it's just a one-off situation that worked out. But for the most part, it did work out. And I've seen a lot of people put a whole lot into their dating process and into, the engagement. And they do these big announcements. And before you know it,
Yeah.
they don't exist anymore
Yeah.
That's
as
really
a
good.
couple. And so I always credit God for our longevity in marriage because of those type of things that I've seen happen with other people.
Because women, you think about it, 3 months, we fully did not. There were things we did not know about each other.
I
that
bet.
we found out
Yeah.
after we were married.
Yeah.
Like, wait, you
just-
like this? You think like this?
Like there was, of course we lived together for a short period of time beforehand, but there was still just a lot of things that we found out about even our upbringing and, things about like, I don't think he fully understood when we got married, like how I grew up. Like he didn't have that aspect of it because I don't think you really found out most of that until after we were married or whatever, and what came with him marrying me and the things that I had to deal with. But like he said, we just, we had gotten very involved in church, and I believe that is the reason why we always have been close to God, and we always use that to say, when it got tough or there was just things we were trying to figure out, we knew that God had his hand on us, and like he said, that's why we've lasted as long as we have.
So we kind of grew up together.
Yeah, y'all did.
Y'all did. We were young adults, so we grew up together and worked through a lot of different processes. And that's kind of where I see people these days kind of get it wrong sometimes, is that they're not willing to go through those things that forge that bond, that unbreakable bond, the slightest thing causes them to fall apart. How somebody stirs their tea gets on their nerves, and it could be just about anything. But I think that when you come through the type of situation that we came through, it prepares you in a different way mentally. And so, like I said, I had to grow up fast because I didn't know anything about no kid.
I bet,
nothing. I had no clue. So I was still a kid myself, right? But that's why I look at other situations as, I look at young adults these days, and they're just totally different from how I came along. And I was sharing this with someone recently that I can't really identify with a lot of the things that I see in younger people now, because for one thing, my conversations were different because most of the people I was around was people like your mom, older than me, seasoned, really, really rooted in God. I really looked at it and I try to assess what's the difference between me and some of the other younger men. Because I look back and I'm like, man, I was 21 once, I was 22 once, I was 23, and I wasn't nothing like that. But because most of my friends were older, so I was exposed to higher level of not education, of conversations, higher level ideas and concepts of family and what that was, because the people who were ahead of me had families. They were already rooted in marriage. They were already grounded in their faith and in their development. And so, though I didn't even hang around people who was my age, the God brother who introduced us, he ended up in a situation and ended up somewhere else. So I didn't even hang around him. Most of the people I hung around were older and more mature people. And so it developed me and fostered me in a way that helped me to be a better husband and a better man.
Wow. I can't even imagine. At 22, not only were you not prepared to be a father, but you also lead a household. Like what? Yeah, I was not ready to be nobody's wife at 22, baby. I was looking for the next party.
I was trying to turn up.
What outfit am I wearing? I got to get a new fit this weekend. Kysha, you said something about, I forgot how you worded it, but let's go into upbringing. Like you said y'all didn't even know some things about that.
Correct.
How did your upbringing shape you guys as a spouse, especially with such a short engagement and dating period?
So for me, from my side of it, my parents were teenagers when they had me.
Okay.
They were literally together long enough for my mom to get pregnant. They weren't even together by the time she was 6 months pregnant. They weren't even a couple anymore. And so,
were they ever a couple?
I don't even know. I don't know. They were in high school. And so they had me, I guess I was born about a month after they graduated. My mom was like 8 months pregnant when she graduated high school. And so they never were together after that. So my mom has never been married. So I grew up in a house where most of my mom and her two other sisters, they were all teenage mothers. So I have cousins that I grew up more like siblings because our moms were so young. So like I said, my mom's never been married. My dad's mom and his stepdad had been married a really long time. And so they kind of stepped in. And so I spent a lot of time with them. So I saw how marriage was with them. And then I spent a lot of time with my mom's mom, who she was divorced. So she was a single parent of 5. Wow. So I kind of spent weekdays with her at her house and then weekends with my dad's mom and stepdad. And so my parents they're 18, 19. My dad left, went to play football at Prairie View. My mom was whatever club she could be in, she was in. And then my mom wound up getting on drugs really bad. So pretty much my whole upbringing, my mom was on drugs. Literally until my kids were 2 and 4 is when she quit. And so I didn't see a like stable marriage besides my one grandparents. Because I didn't see it in my parents, because my dad, he would date this woman, that woman. My mom would be with this man, that man.
Yeah.
So I didn't see that growing up. Like I didn't see my parents together. Now my parents are great friends. Like they're really great friends now. Like people are like, how are your parents? Like they're really good friends to the point my dad will break up with a woman if he can't. My mom has a lung disease. And so she's in and out the hospital. If my whoever he's dating can't take him going to see my mom, then she got to go.
Wow.
So they're really good friends, which is a blessing because they're both still here. But like I said, they never showed me the stability that I needed.
Yeah.
And they both understood that, apologized once I was older and grown or whatever. They were like, yeah, we were young. We didn't know what we were doing. So I didn't have like a mom and dad in the house with me. It was kind of me going back and forth between my grandparents' house. Luckily they stayed in the same neighborhood, so it was an easy transition for them to take me back and forth. But that was what I had growing up. So like when we got married, I don't think he realized what he was getting into, because my mom would go missing for months at a time. So I would have to file a missing persons report, and then she would pop up and call me to come get her from wherever she was. So he kind of stepped into that, not really fully knowing exactly what was going on. So
did you desire marriage?
So
or even know what it was, or was it just let's just do this?
Like I said, I knew it from my grandparents. I found myself, because I'm 3 years older than him. So he was 21, I was 24. But I was partying really hard. I was like in a club every night I could be. I was drinking. Like I know that I went to work, still had alcohol in my system because I had drunk that much. And then I found myself pregnant by someone who didn't want me or the child. And so I never thought about marriage. I literally had never even contemplated marriage before even meeting him and dating him. Marriage was not on my mind. Literally probably until he asked me until he said, I think we should get married. I never thought about it. Cause then it was like, hey, at this point, who's going to marry me with a 4-month-old?
Yeah.
Who even wants me with a child that I'm dealing with having to raise on my own, because the person I got pregnant by doesn't want him. Like he doesn't want anything to do with him or me. So to me, it was just like, at that point, I was just focused on how I'm gonna raise this kid by myself. Yeah. I had family. Of course, my family stepped up to help me, but it was still like, it's still my responsibility. Yeah. So really, I never thought about me being married, especially at this point. At that point of my life, marriage was just not something I was looking for.
Yeah.
It just showed up.
But it showed up. And God made it show up when it needs. Like literally, I think the week before I met him, my stepsister at the time invited me to come to the vessel. So that's how I got to the vessel. My dad got married for a very short period of time, and my stepsister was going to the vessel. Okay. And so that's how I wound up at the chosen vessel. Went there.
Are we allowed to mention churches on there?
Yeah. Well, that's where Yeah. That's where we got a lot from, and that's where we met his mom them at. So I went there, I think the week before I met you, and then I think I took him back with me maybe a couple of weeks later.
Okay.
She talked about the church.
Because when I'm
not gonna mention
there,
that church, but she talked bad about the church I was visiting.
I did.
So you did have a church.
He was visiting.
I was visiting.
Okay,
yes. Made a couple of trips there.
Yeah. Made a couple of trips, and that's real.
I was excited about it.
And then being from Fort Worth, you know all the church drama and gossip,
So let me get on my soapbox real quick about my sin ain't as bad as y'all sin. So y'all said y'all were turned up at 22.
Yes.
She said she was partying at 24. I might have been on my way to the strip club, but the Lord intervened and turned things around. And before I know it, I was ready to get married.
Yeah.
So I let me get on my high horse a little bit. But y'all put me out there, man.
Oh my God. But his upbringing was different than mine.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
It wasn't a stellar upbringing.
I mean,
my parents were married, and I grew up in a 2-parent home, but there wasn't. I never saw any affection between the two of them. both of them were in ministry. My mom had a heavy teaching gift. My dad, of course, did some traveling evangelism and also planted churches. So I saw, I had a good root in spiritual things. But as far as, the family dynamic, there was levels of dysfunction that were present, Now at the time, it was normal to me. But now that I look back on it, there was levels of dysfunction. Sometimes, my dad would go out on the road and do ministry, and I may not see him for months at a time, traveling. There were times where, of course, we had to deal with public housing situations, government assistance type of situations, some, living with unwanted guests at your house, and stuff like that. And so I had some tough times growing up, and it helped me to appreciate good times, and it helped me to understand the importance of it won't always be like this, and you got to work your way through some different things that you may go through. But for me, I don't feel like I had a good example of what marriage was, although marriage was present.
I got you.
But, I love both of my parents. My mom is deceased now. She passed when I was 14. Wow. And so, but I got a lot from both of them. I still have a good relationship with my dad today. One thing I did witness after my mom passed is that within a year, he remarried. And so that was kind of fast for me, right?
Yeah.
I think
that has to be really hard.
Maybe 6 months after she passed is when he told us he was going to get married.
Oh, wow.
And probably within a few months after that, so I would say within a total of 8 months, he got married after my mom passed.
Still grieving.
Still grieving. And not only
14,
that,
15 years old.
for me, I had to uproot my whole life to relocate because we were living here in Texas when she passed. And so he uprooted me and took me back to Louisiana. And so within 3 months of my mom passing, I'm in a whole nother environment, trying to learn a whole nother dynamic of the culture there.
Yeah.
I was familiar with Louisiana because we left Louisiana. I was 8 years old when we left, 8 or 9 years old when we left. And so, I'm familiar with it. But the whole dynamic of the culture and just dealing with new friends and trying to ingratiate yourself to a new environment, it took a toll on me because what ultimately happened is because of my dad being in the field that he was in, because he also sold insurance and stuff like that. He wasn't ready to deal with me on a full-time basis because he had always been gone. He had always gone out into the field and did what he needed to do ministry-wise and, career-wise or what have you. So what ended up happening is that he passed me on for a season to a woman I call my godmother. And she intervened, and I was able to kind of see a dynamic of marriage there as well, but it wasn't stellar either. For some reason, in growing up in our community, there were these levels of dysfunction, and only good examples we had of marriage were the Huxtables or somebody on TV.
That's true.
But I had to go through that process, and there were some tough times and some tough days ahead. So a lot of what forged me in terms of my development as an adult and wanting to have a stable family is what I saw growing up. Though there was the presence of marriage was there wasn't always the presence of affection. There wasn't always the presence of family and togetherness and cohesiveness and I've seen situations, I'm not saying in my family, but I've seen situations where there were infidelity in environments and things like that. And I always wonder, for me, it always feels good to be able to go into any room and and be around any group of people and not have to worry about who's going to be there.
Yeah.
Who may have seen me last week somewhere I shouldn't have been. You know, the pressure of that, just the sheer pressure of that alone should scare you straight and make you stay faithful in your marriage, because I don't see how people do that. But that was my upbringing. So by the time I met her, I had been through college and dropped out because I partied too much. And I couldn't get into the military because even though I passed the ASVAB for both the Navy as well as the Army, my physical kept coming back that I had high blood pressure. I was like, wait a minute, man, I'm a young brother. What are we talking about?
I play ball.
That was God.
Yeah, I played ball, all of that. And she said it was God.
It was. That's what I was thinking.
God was like, that
I'm
is
like,
not
wait a
what
minute,
your
I can't get
plan.
in.
That's not the plan.
And so I was ready for a turnaround in my life. I had already started to, I was still doing a little something, but I was already leaning towards, getting my life together, having a walk with the Lord. So the Lord had already been prepping me before I met her to really get myself in alignment with Him. And so by the time she and I came together, it just made sense to me. It felt comfortable. It felt right. It was just a different, and when you're dealing with somebody who's, there's a friendship there, but there's also a level of love, and I feel comfortable with this person. So.
And they always say the man knows.
Yeah,
like
when
men,
you know,
y'all
you know.
know. When y'all know,
I've
y'all
heard
know.
that they say that men, they know. Like it doesn't take them a year
Yeah, they know.
to know.
When we know.
Yeah, I've heard people say that it doesn't take a year for a man to know if this is the one that, if that's the person he wants to be with.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you brought the question up. Was it like a proposal, or was it like a conversation? Like,
Hey, what you trying to do?
Hey, what you think about
I
this?
mean, we already staying together. What
you trying to like
think?
get married, or?
Was this like a whole, like I'm on my knee?
Yeah, here's
I
the
done got
ring. Yeah.
So I went and got a piece of ring from a pawn shop.
Not a piece of ring.
From the pawn shop.
it-
That's all we could afford.
It was
Hey,
real, real gold.
It was real. It came from the
And
pawn
that's
shop.
okay.
It was
Was it
real.
bought with love?
It was
Yes,
bought
exactly.
it was
with
bought with
It was
love.
from the pawn shop.
Which I didn't know that, but
Yeah.
he told me later. But
And so I went and bought some Victoria's Secret stuff, a package, one of the little gift packages. I haven't been in that store in a long time. Passed by it yesterday while I was in the mall. But anyway,
Yeah.
and I put the ring in the Victoria's Secret gift package, and I set it on the bed, and she got home, and I said, no. I took Kendall or something, didn't
you and Kendall left.
I took Kendall, but how did I have him before you got home?
I don't know if you had picked up.
You planned it out.
Oh,
'Cause
anyway,
you knew.
I took him, and me and him left and went somewhere, and so hours went by, and I was like, man, wait a minute, I ain't heard from her yet.
She
I
called
told her
you.
where I was going, so she had the number of where I was going. So I thought I would have gotten a phone
The number
call.
of
this is before cell phone.
Yeah, I have to
Yeah.
remember.
You know,
I mean, they were out.
We had-
Did she have the beeper?
Yeah, I had a pager before I met her, but I didn't have one then. You know, so I was like, man, I ain't heard nothing from.
She knew the number of where I
So-
was gonna be at. Y'all, yes, I'm too young for this.
They were
So-
using yellow pages.
Yeah,
Cell phones were very expensive back then. They were in this big bag.
yeah. They were the big
You had to
block
carry like
military
Oh.
phones.
carry
Yeah,
the
they were
purse
like this
around.
long.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
Oh,
like
wow.
This long antenna.
Yeah. So I was like, man, I haven't heard from her. So I called, and she answers the phone, and I was like, hey, how you doing? Oh, I was asleep. I came home and I took a nap, and I was like, so you took a nap? I said, did you
you
notice anything
on the bed.
on the bed?
The package is on the bed. I don't even know the package.
You never
The
saw it.
girl was sleeping on the package.
Oh no, baby, you was tired.
I was tired.
She said he got Kindle. He didn't got the baby. I'm going to
Good.
taking me. I
sleep.
got off work. I'm taking me a nap.
The house
I
to
ain't seen
myself.
nothing until he called and said something. Then I walked back in there and I'm like, when did you put that there? He was like, that was there before you got there.
She slept on it.
Package is crumbled up and smashed in.
That's funny.
And then what happened from your perspective?
And so then that's when, as we were talking, I pulled the Victoria's Secrets out, I think, first, and then I pulled the ring out. And then
you didn't even notice it.
Yeah, I didn't even.
You noticed the Victoria's Secret.
Yeah, I didn't even notice.
And said, "Oh, okay, take it." I'll take it. You see anything else?
I know it's small.
You had to work for this one, Reko.
I know it's small, and I know it's from the pawn shop, but come on.
I know it's small.
A brother tried.
Hey.
She didn't even notice my little pawn shop ring.
Pawn shop ring.
No, it wasn't in a
Yeah, it
box.
wasn't in a box. So I
It was
think
from the
that's
pawn
why-
shop. They don't give you no gift box
Yeah,
at the
right.
pawn shop.
It was just loose in the box.
It was just loose, man. She pulled out the stuff. Oh, thank you for my Victoria's Secret. I'm like, you don't see
That's
that
it? You don't
else?
see nothing else.
He's like, there's something else in there. And then I dug around in, and that's when I pulled it out and was like, what?
Like, I know it's little, but
It is.
come on,
And
man.
so that's when he was like, I think we should get married. So it kind of just.
So you proposed on the phone,
Yeah, I
essentially.
had to do it from there because
Basically.
I thought the girl would go call me and be
Right.
surprised.
Right.
But she's a hard person to be moved by stuff. You know, she don't surprise, man. It don't mean nothing to this woman.
You tried.
I'm not hard to move. It's just, I guess I'm just built kind of different. And he talks about, because he's like, you know, him giving me flowers, he says I'm not moved by that. And I think that's because my grandfather literally brought me flowers every year of my life. So my grandfather was always buying me flowers. Like I would just get flowers at work from my grandfather.
Aw.
So it was just like, I
It
was
was
used to
normal.
getting
That's just a
flowers.
thing.
So it was
It's
just
normal.
a thing.
Yeah.
It was like me and his thing or whatever. And so he'd just be like, I used to be buying your flowers. And I'm just like, just give me chocolate covered strawberries.
That's marriage.
That's my
like you
thing.
literally have to learn.
Yeah.
Like
he learned that chocolate covered strawberries are my thing.
Yeah, she's jewelry and
Like
doesn't do
I'm not
anything for her.
he knows that that's not
yeah,
a purse. Like, you know,
Yeah.
he knows that give me a nice purse. I'm good. You know, buy me necklace and all that kind of stuff. That's not really my thing. He finally made me upgrade my wedding ring because I was fine with what I had. That doesn't move me. Like I
Yeah.
ain't gotta have the
How
big
long
old
did you have
giant ring.
the buzz shop?
I don't know. I kept that for years. I think
Well,
didn't bother me because to me
but
it's
then
not about.
you got another one after that, right?
I did get another one.
And then another one.
We finally upgraded to the one I have now. But it didn't. To me, it's not about where the ring came from. It was about the reason why he gave me.
yeah, yeah.
So that's just how I am.
would have helped my feelings on
Just
the
a little
pawn
bit.
shop ring a little bit.
So let's kind of shift gears a little bit. And so how did y'all get into ministry, like in pastoring? How we get there?
Told him.
Like I said, man, I was cool with just being a little armor bearer. You know, I did some of everything, bro. Let me take you back. So
Okay.
I did some of everything.
Okay.
I think I started out on the usher
Yeah.
board.
And this
I
is
was
at
part
the
of that.
vessel when you
Yep.
got acquainted at the vote.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I started that, and shortly after that, someone pulled me aside and said, "You know what? I see more in you. I want you to serve here." So they started me serving as an armor bearer. From there, I got involved with youth ministry, and I was just a part of the youth team. And then I became the youth director at the church. And one day, while we were kind of transitioning between, I think it was a Wednesday night service. Yeah, I think it was a Wednesday night service because we would start off with worship on Wednesday nights in the main sanctuary, and then we would transition from the main sanctuary as youth to another area of the church for the youth service. And so while I'm transitioning, I'm walking through the hall, and your mom and Mama Paula snatched me. They jumped me. They jumped
I can
me.
see this too.
Literally, I'm walking past
Mama and Granny,
them
he talking
and-
about you.
and they jumped me and snatched me in the office
In a room.
and said, "God said there's more in you, and you're supposed to be
Oh.
doing more than what you're doing, and you need to be in ministry doing this, da da da." And they laid hands on me, had me up
You got a whole session.
had me under the I went from the floor to under the desk somewhere. You know.
We trying to figure out where he is.
And
They
and
jumped you
finally
for
I
real.
get out of that session. It was a whole thing.
I'm sure.
I got a whole class upstairs that I was supposed to be overseeing because I wasn't teaching that night, and we would break up and have different teachers and stuff. And so, but at that point, I kind of felt there was a need for me, or a draw really, for me to start studying my word more, becoming a little bit more intentional in terms of how to present the word of God. And, I would go into hours and hours of just either studying the word, prayer, or preparing a message, and even preaching to myself. And so
Yeah, I know.
I had a whole setup.
You had a mic? That's so cute.
I had everything. Now, hold on. I'm about 25 now. Yeah, I was about 25, about 23, 24. I wasn't even 20. About 23, 24.
Oh, this is still very early.
Still very early.
Okay.
But the Lord started dealing with me in that, and I just felt a pull and a hunger for His presence, and wanted to connect with Him deeper. And I can remember I used to not be able to just wait to get off of work so I can go and seek God and get in His word. And I miss those days. Life has changed. So but that's kind of how I started leaning towards that way. But ultimately how I ended up in pastoral ministry is just the different changes in my life. And I'm not knocking church. I love the church. But sometimes when you have a calling on your life and you have purpose in you, sometimes you have to change your trajectory to get there. Yeah. And when you're on a certain trajectory, people may not understand because they're used to you being where they met you or where they understood you. And so as you begin to grow and you begin to evolve and the Lord begins to mature you, your trajectory changes, and with that comes some ridicule. With that comes, you sure about this? With that comes a lot of things that you have to endure just to get to the point of where you are even today. So ultimately how I ended up in it is that I just saw that God had something greater for me to do, and I didn't see it fleshing out in the situation I was in. And I'll go back and forth with myself, even here recently, about it. But I think that the decisions that I made taught me a lot. I learned a lot, and I can't reverse it. I can't change it, but I just commit to it. Yeah, and just keep trusting the Lord in it. And that's how I ended up where I am.
You kind of was in it because he was
right.
Oh, wait a minute.
I was gonna ask.
She don't even love Jesus.
don't do Kysha like that. That ain't true.
She don't love Jesus. She love God's man. She don't even love God. She love God.
Because a lot of people don't think about it, especially when the minister or the pastor is married. It's like when they accept their calling, you basically accept yours, even though you don't know that that's what your calling is. Because for me, is when he told me, like, I think I'm supposed to be doing this. And I'm like, huh? Right. And so then it was like, okay, he accepted his calling. So at that point, because we are equally yoked, I accept my calling. Yeah. So it's kind of one goes one. A lot of people are like, well, he's a minister. I'm not. He's this. I'm not. But when you're married to someone who has that calling, it's both of you have the call. Like God is not going to call him and not you. Yeah. So I kind of transitioned just right on in there with him.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
You love Jesus.
Oh my God.
You just love God.
Tearing it down like that.
We just didn't know when we got married that we were going to be in this position.
Right. I didn't know I was signing up for that because when I looked at down the road for my life, it didn't have that.
This wasn't
Jesus was in it, but it didn't look like that.
Long story short, they don't love Jesus.
They don't love Jesus.
I love Jesus.
They love God's man.
God's man.
Oh my God.
And we love God's man, but we do love Jesus first.
Yes.
Like, hey.
Reko, I just wanted to hit on something really for me personally. You talked about how you started studying God's word. what did you use? How do you do that? Like, I remember when I started taking God seriously, and it was just this desire for worship, and I would read the Bible, but it didn't really make sense to me. So I learned from like sermons, but I've now transitioned more into a place where I'm hungry for God's word and like teaching and understanding, not just, okay, what did the pastor preach from this one verse? I want to know what the context of the whole story is and all that. So in the beginning, you know, you're young, you know what I mean? Like, how do you study the word? What are some resources or tools that you used?
Well, back then, of course, I didn't have internet access. So we had to grab commentaries and
spent a lot of time in Mardell.
Christian bookstores, commentaries, concordances, things of that, anything that you could get your hands on and read. The one thing I will say though is for me, where we were ministry wise, I learned a lot. I picked up a lot.
Gotcha.
I paid attention, having a close proximity with ministries and with pastors and preachers a lot. You pick up on nuances, you pick up on conversations, you see study material. There was times where even Bishop would allow me to borrow a book off of his bookshelf or what have you. He gave me some books, you know. So for me, I think what drove me is that they say more things are caught than taught. So you really have to you really have to just really be within an earshot of a conversation or just pay attention, because there's good models around you all the time if you're in a good place, and most of the time you're in a good place. You know, there's good models around you. And I even told people, one guy wanted me to teach him how to preach. I said, I can't teach you how to preach.
You can't do that, cuz.
But I could teach you my habits. I could show you what to read. I could show you how I go about doing things that I do. And if you could pick it up, great. If not, that's on you. But for me, it was just this insatiable desire to be with God.
So hungry.
And to learn and to just be in his presence. It was pure.
Yeah.
It was really pure. Now, there's a lot that has happened that has jaded my,
I understand.
my experience.
I understand.
But it was pure. And I think for me, during that particular time is one of the best times in my life, because, you know, we didn't have a whole lot. You know, we weren't making a lot of money. We weren't staying in the best place. And but what I had from God was just so pure and authentic that it made up for a lot that I didn't have.
I understand.
And so, I would, you know, different reference materials and just pick up.
The good thing too
stuff.
is about where we were when you were young. A lot of them were they were teachers. They like to teach younger the ministers. So they would do classes with them, or they would share stuff with them. And so that was one of the good thing about the place that we were in when we were young, is because not only were they teaching him how to study and to really accept his calling as a minister, they were also teaching people like me as his wife, like, what is it that he needed from me? And so I think, like he said, we learned a lot there. We didn't have much, but they taught us how a lot of the things that we were taught back then that we still use, like he said, the concordances and that kind of stuff. We spent a lot of time buying stuff out of Mordell's because, like I said, we didn't have the internet.
Nah, a lot of the stuff you can just download to your computer.
Computers existed. We didn't have a computer because we couldn't afford one. So we spent a lot of time.
We finally got one.
AOL
download. What was it?
I don't
A
even
10?
know. Somebody probably gave it to us.
I never knew how to pronounce that.
And so, so that was one of the things I think that helped us. And I know for me,
compact. We got the compact.
Oh,
we got us a little compact.
But
it was
like
such
he
a
said,
beautiful
just
time.
Oh my God. Like, a lot of the stuff that there were people would tell us to buy, and that, you're so silly. A lot of stuff
You had
that
to
people would,
download your internet on a
serious.
disc back then.
If y'all don't know that, he can't be
AOL.
serious for nothing.
It was a beautiful season. Beautiful season.
All the time. So I think, like he said, being around those people, like he said, your mom, your grandma, because like basically your grandmother says we her kids. Like being around people like them back then really helped us a lot, because they studied. Like
Yeah.
they were for real, for real.
I really,
Like it for real, for real. Like
one thing
us do fasting and solemn assembly because
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna die after 2 days and not eat.
Well, I mean, one thing I just miss really about those days was that people were serious about their walk with the Lord.
Yeah.
And there was a level of accountability that, they held you accountable. They, they didn't allow you to slip as a younger person.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, to me now, some people may look back and say that some things were legalistic. I'm pretty sure it was, but I didn't notice it because they created this environment. It wasn't a judgmental environment either, but it was an environment of sincerity. And it made you want to study. It made you want to spend time with God. A lot of what happens now, everything is so commercialized that I don't know what people are getting, whether or not, they're growing or not in certain spaces because of the commercialism of ministry and stuff like that. But for me back then, man, I never noticed, there was no pressure in terms of, you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way. I never noticed it. I'm sure it was there, but I never noticed it because of the place it was coming from.
I got you.
And just the pureness of it.
I got you.
Man, that really makes me think, because I'm like reflecting on just that season, because I'm a little kid, watching all of this happen and whatnot. And so I think it's very interesting to hear it from, I guess, hear what y'all are saying as an adult. Because I mean, I live with that with my mom, my grandma, my dad, my papa, everybody. So like that was normal for me too. So like growing up in it and watching it and seeing it, and I'm as we walk in the transition of becoming pastors and everything, I'm like, as a kid, I didn't want that. I didn't want no parts of church and no
I
parts
didn't
of
either.
ministry. Absolutely.
I know it's God.
Yeah.
I know it's God, man, because I didn't want it.
I didn't want any parts of it. And I mean, if I'm being honest, right now, I still don't. Because I'm aware of a lot of the things that come with it. And, it's that dynamic of feeling or thinking that you're adequate or worthy enough and all that other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I ain't trying to mess that up because I just see what happened to everybody else whenever they mess up. I don't want that. I don't want that kind of smoke. I don't want those issues. And so, for you to say that y'all felt the sincerity within that, and maybe there was some legalism, maybe it wasn't, you didn't see it or experience it, but that's not everybody's experience. And so just the fact that y'all were blessed with the community, and it seems like every single place that y'all go, anytime that y'all move, y'all have always had community around y'all. I've always had somebody, there to help y'all and be there with y'all. And I'm kind of, I guess, shouting out my people. I'm just glad that they was a part of it too.
You got to think about it. They, back then, because, when you had, you call them the mothers of the church. Like the mothers of the church during that time were the ones that when the new people came in, they were the ones who put their arms around them, took them in. Cause I can still, we still remember those mothers. Like we said, your grandmother, we had Mother Williams.
The other day, I was just thinking about them,
And so they would have us being a young couple, they took us in. I remember a time that, we were going through some stuff and like they showed up with Kendall and Caleb clothes, or they'd be like, come by the house and eat. And a lot of times now, it's just people don't build those type of relationships, unfortunately. And I think that that's what helped us as a young couple is I can't imagine my life back then without those mothers in our lives. Like we were very connected with them and they took us in and some of them have gone on to be with the Lord and many of them have, but up until when they were here, we were like their children and they just took us in and wanted the best for us. And even like your family, like not even just your grandmother, your mom, your aunt. We've been around your uncle, your aunt, like we were around the whole family and they're just like family no matter what. And I think that's a lot. Sometimes that's what's missing.
I think one of the most beautiful and memorable compliments I ever got in ministry, it didn't come from a bishop. It didn't come from an apostle. It didn't come from some superintendent or some high up official in the church. It came from a mother, and Mother Colson. And she pulled me aside one day after I spoke, and she said to me, no matter what, you keep being who you are. Because whenever you open your mouth, I can tell you've been with God. And that's something that sticks with me.
I felt that.
I felt that.
Yeah, because she
Yeah.
told me, she said, I can tell whenever you open up your mouth, I can tell you've been with God. And she knew because she was a woman of prayer, a woman of faith, very deeply rooted in the things of God. So they could tell who faking and who wasn't, you know. And that, like she said, she named off, man, there was a lot of Mother Williams, a couple of Mother Williams in the church, you know, just Mother Colson, you know, you name them, you know, Mother Rayford, Mother Salters, just Mother a lot of Mother Crownover, just a lot of mothers, you know, in the church, Mama Taylor, and those were people who love God and they love God's people, and they wanted to make sure that you felt love and you felt connected and you knew that they were there for you, and they were there, you know. So we don't have that in today's church like we used to, not to my knowledge or to my current experience.
It's not in this commercialized.
Not as commercialized.
That's a good way to put
and,
that.
But I think for me, the reason why I'm so rooted and grounded is because I came up through those type of situations, and those people helped develop me, and I understand what it takes to walk with God. And I hope that I can pass that down to the generation that's following me, you know, even if it's just one person, two people, or whatever the case may be, if I can instill in them what it's like to really walk with God. Because these days, people just don't have the skin to endure the things that it takes to endure to be able to stand under certain levels of pressure.
Because we don't like accountability.
We don't like accountability.
Yeah.
We don't like accountability.
And we don't like correction.
No.
Yeah. And there's this false narrative of when you sign up, if you will, to walk with the Lord, things are well. Because the Bible, because we preach peace, right? And we preach joy and all this. So it's supposed to be this kumbaya all the time.
Right.
And so when you have that in mind, like I remember thinking like, bet life's going to be good because I got the Lord. It's going to be good, but that doesn't mean it doesn't come with trials. It comes without trials.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I think where that comes from is people have sanitized scripture to the point where the scripture loses its potence in certain things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And
I
we don't
agree.
allow it to touch people from the reality of what it is. You
That's
think about
real.
everybody in the Bible. Now, the Bible is the only holy book where the people in it got flaws. You go and look at any other holy book, you name it, you know, those people are deemed to be deified in that book. But the Bible, the Holy Bible, is the only holy book where people have real issues. And if you're really, really tapping into it the way you read, you know, you should be reading it, and within its context and looking at the overarching picture, you will see those flaws. You will see how that flaw came out and affected them in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Let's look at David, you know, with as good as he is, the Bible says that he was a man after God's own heart. But the man after God's own heart was after another man's wife.
right.
And killed him.
And kill
Right,
him.
and killed him, set him up, right? But in the end, he was still deemed a man after God's own heart.
Right.
Yeah.
Not because of the mistake he made, but because his walk with God and his way towards God was so pure that although he made the mistake, God still dealt with him on his mistake, but it didn't diminish who he was in God.
Yeah.
And so when you understand those things and you see the text in its entirety, and you're able to extrapolate the I like to call tension. If you ever hear me preach, I'm gonna always point out the tension in the text because without tension, you ain't got no message to me. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Ain't no man. If it's all hunky dory, la la land, and kumbaya, bro. Let me put up my holy finger, church walk out of here because I'm looking for the tension in the text. But if you take the tension out of the text and you try to sanitize it and make it so pure, that's how people get set up for failure because you're not showing them the whole thing.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, one of my spiritual father, Bill Stubblefield, man, he was like my first introduction into learning how to read the Bible and scripture and in context. He says all the time, if you take the text out of context, the only thing you're left with is the con.
It's the con. That's it.
And I'm just like, dang, bro.
Right.
Like that. So anytime that I read the scripture, I'm like, what's the context? What was the mental, capacity of these people? What was the cultural context? What was, the price of this during this time and the difference of that during our time? Like, because we have to understand that the Bible is an ancient text.
Right.
And it's written in an ancient language.
Right.
That has different meanings, and it's a different rhythmic poetry and flow and all those different things that go into it. So when we read it from that lens, we take out I got to figure out how to make this practical right now. How to make it practical today.
That's right.
And it's like, we're going to get joy. We're going to get peace. We're going to get all those things. But those things come based upon how we understand it in the context that it's meant to have. So there's a reason why you need peace, because there's tension, there's trials, there's issues.
Right.
You need joy because you sad right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, it's not just you just, all right, salvation, I'm good. I give my life to Jesus and he's my Lord and Savior and it's all good.
Correct.
But I tell people this all the time. When you decide to follow Jesus, you chose violence.
Right, exactly.
You chose violence, and not so much against other people, but within yourself.
Right.
Because you have to deal with you
Every
and
day,
what's happening in you
every day
before we start dealing with other folks and pointing out other people's flaws. But all of that to say, it's all about the contextual way that we look at it, and it's not a rule book, it's a book of wisdom.
Right.
It is, and understanding that helps us read it in context. It helps us understand it better. But also it helps us understand God.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Instead of putting our own thoughts or our own projections on what we think God should be doing, how he should be acting, how he should do this. He's already shown us in the scriptures who he is and revealed to us who he is. But I think a lot of us, I guess our society, whenever it comes to this commercialized version of God or the gospel, has really, like you said, been sanitized. I love like the Bible app and how, you can see what people are doing and all this other stuff, which is really, really good. But I'm like, but it has to be deeper than that. You know what I mean? It has to be a lot deeper than, getting a word of encouragement from this person who's giving you a quick scriptural reference or whatever. I mean, that's cool, but that ain't gonna hold you.
That ain't enough substance.
That's gonna get you. That's kind of get you some fuel, get you going.
And after a while, you see the same daily scripture posted on social media by multiple people. I know where you got that from.
Yeah,
So,
right.
like,
It popped up on
God
my
ain't saying the
notification.
same thing to all these people. Go get you a word for yourself.
Go get you a
word for
That's
yourself.
self.
You got to get you a word for you,
yourself.
Yeah.
man. So yeah, man, I love that. So what is, like, whenever y'all look at y'all's marriage and y'all really reflect on like just y'all's journey and all the different things that y'all have walked in, like what is something that y'all have really been able to pull away from it, like, within y'all's marriage? Like, what is that?
I mean, like a learning. Like
I get maybe a learning experience or something that you reflect on and you're like, man, that's something I'm really proud of, or something that we did, or what have you.
I guess for me, just the way that everything happened in the beginning for us, and us having to, in the beginning, learn about each other. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't have made it through that.
Oh, definitely not, because I'm one of them.
And I feel like that's the thing that I pull away from, because we'll be sitting around and we'll just start talking about it. Like, most people wouldn't have made it through that. Yeah. And I mean, we know people who had dated a bunch of years, may have been married around about the same time we were, and they're not together anymore. Mm-hmm. So we take away that. But for us, we always tried to keep God first. In our marriage, we know that we had difficult times. Is not necessarily, I don't know if we just had like difficult times in our marriage where we questioned it. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever questioned being married to him, ever. But I know that that's because God, told me early on, like, I don't think God would have positioned us and had everything happen the way it did if he didn't mean for us to be together for the long haul. Yeah. And so for us, even if there's tension, if there's something going on, our motto was, we try not to ever go to bed just angry at each other. Mm-hmm. I laugh when I see the thing. It's like, oh, I'm mad at them. So even though we touch each other's legs at night in the bed, I'm not going to touch your leg tonight because I'm mad at you. That's our way of an apology after an argument. Yeah. One of us will make the first move and just kind of tap your leg over there or something.
I love you.
So, just testing the water.
Yeah, testing the water.
I'd have had some nights where I lost some sleep.
Right.
I pulled that leg. Ain't testing me tonight.
So I was sleep uncomfortable.
So for me, it's just that no matter what, we never thought about giving up. Like, we were like, God put us here together, and no matter what we got going on, we're gonna make it through it. Even if we ain't got no money, we struggling. God put us together for a reason, and we just gonna get through this together.
Yeah, I can echo that. For me, same thing pretty much, is that we're still here. Mm-hmm. That's one of the big takeaways I get from it. But also, like she said, I think we learn how to deal with tough times. Mm-hmm. A lot of couples can't handle tough times because they're unwilling to see it all the way through. If it's not the bed of roses, and if everything isn't laid out for them the way they think it should be laid out, they fold up, But for us, we work through those things, and we allow those things to help develop us and mature us and help us to get through the things that we were going through, because without those experiences, you don't really have any true substance to your marriage.
That's true, correct.
You can go and I know people personally who they post they're together, they post happy feelings, blah, 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 but behind closed doors, I know that y'all arguing. Yep. I know y'all are not on the same page. Right. I know that y'all have questions about each other. Mm-hmm. Why put stuff out there for the social media world to project a certain image instead of really dealing with the thing that's going to give your marriage substance? Because at the end of the day, eventually, this is why people are shocked. When they see, so-and-so getting a divorce.
That's true.
That's true. I thought they were so happy,
just posted last week.
Yeah.
It's because they were so superficial about marriage that they didn't allow the tough times that they were walking through to help them to get some substance in their marriage that would sustain them. And now they have something to offer the world besides a good photo op. They have some real substance, some real understanding, and things that they can offer other people to help them grow. Right. It just amazes me when I see people writing a couple's book and you ain't even been married 2 years. Oh, God. What are we doing here, man? To me, you should not be able to publish any content until you got 5 to 10 years under your belt.
Listen.
Come on, man.
I don't know. We almost 5. Right?
You at 5?
Oh,
we almost, yeah.
Okay, then. Well, y'all make it. But what I'm saying is, but see, you're not putting it out there as giving people advice.
No,
absolutely.
Right. I've never been on that.
Your
wave.
content is to help foster conversation, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about people putting stuff out there to give people advice on marriage.
How their marriage
you ain't even
work.
made a decade.
Like, people.
Well, it's going well, and the things that they're doing right now in the 2 years, it's going well.
It's going well,
Yeah,
but you ain't even hit that wall yet.
Yeah, they had. Yeah,
You haven't hit that wall.
They're saying
yet.
what they will and will not do in a marriage, and they ain't even
They
been
ain't
through
hit that wall
and
yet.
they ain't been through that.
See what I'm
They ain't
saying?
been through
And
nothing.
so my thought is that until you at least hit 5 solid years to a decade, you ain't nobody's marriage coach. Sit down
I
somewhere.
understand that.
You ain't even seen enough yet to be a marriage coach.
And if you've seen that much in that period of time,
Got some questions.
That
You see what
marriage is.
and so I think this is why a lot of these celebrity marriages and stuff fizzle out. Is because it's built on, again, the commercialism piece,
Right.
and also what's popular. And I've seen people, God forgive me, but I've seen folk who've been divorced 3 or 4 times giving marriage advice. Only thing you can tell me is what not to do.
Yeah, that's it. Or show me how to fill out the paperwork.
Exactly. You
Oh,
walk me
Lord.
through. Jim Rohn used to say, "Why don't we have a seminar for the people who fail? Because ain't nobody gonna pay for failure knowledge. We can get that for free." But anyway, it just amazes me that people who have failed at a thing are promoting their knowledge at a thing, not in terms of what not to do, but here's what to do. How can you tell me?
How do
you
you
can tell
know?
me what not to do.
You've messed up.
And you couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think what's important for me is that there's substance in what we do, and the hardships, we allowed that stuff. Now, we could have bailed.
Right.
There was times where, hey man, shoot,
It's hard.
let me
what you
get
trying to
about this piece. This what it is. Why y'all ain't tell? Why y'all didn't talk me out of this? But I allowed myself to go through those processes and deal with that stuff, so that now that I'm older, I have something to offer someone else who's coming along, and those are the great takeaways for me.
So y'all ain't got no advice?
As far as what?
I just gave you
kind of
the
advice?
advice.
He said,
advice
"Embrace the hardships."
Yeah, no, I'm just
I
talking.
mean, you have to. He's just messing with us. I
I
know.
just gave you the advice. Shut your podcast down. You
Yeah.
ain't been doing this long
We're
enough.
doing this long.
Don't
Down.
you do that.
You have no credentials.
I ain't credentialed enough, y'all.
It's crazy.
We're done. This is the last episode, y'all.
No, it is not.
My big brother Reko said
Like
it's a
he
wrap.
said, y'all are not trying to give
But you're not
advice.
trying to
Y'all
give. You're
sparking
creating conversation.
No, we're not.
That's
which
different.
is needed, because a lot
You're not
of times,
coming off as an expert.
No,
Yeah.
because
No,
a lot of
'cause we're
times, what I find is that people rather give you all of the glitz and the glam of being married, but they don't want to talk about the down times of being married
And
the struggles.
that's why we have.
That's
the
why we have the
which is
podcast.
why y'all, because the thing is, like
This
20
the struggle podcast.
the almost 26 years, like it ain't been hunky dory, glitz and glam.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not gonna say we ain't never have argued. I'm not gonna say we probably didn't want to have kill each other. I'm not telling you that, because
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. There are
Yeah.
gonna be times that you may not be able to stand the sight of your spouse.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. But the thing is that you can't let that decide your marriage. Like
Right.
it's gonna happen, but you have to figure out the way to get through that.
Yeah.
Right.
The one thing that I can say for us is we can literally count on one hand how many drag out loud fights that we've had. Because a lot of times we rather try to talk it out than me and him screaming at each other. There's been like, I could probably remember basically maybe 2 or 3 times that we were just mad at each other and we were like
Right.
totally screaming at
That's
each
true.
other.
But I made a decision. I ain't gonna let these people bother me.
Yeah, that's
no
what
more.
he say. I ain't
I ain't gonna let my wife and my kids get under
not
my
these
skin
people.
ever
I'm
I'm
again.
like, who are you talking about?
He was talking about me and the kids.
I ain't gonna let these people take me there no
Because the thing is,
more.
because the thing
You
is,
How
understand?
the kids get it?
Never
these
again.
kids be like, what we do?
Never will I allow them to take me there
I can
again.
remember one time we had one argument, and he was just mad at all 3 of us. He passed one of them, and I think it was like, "What I do?
I
Like
went
you
in
arguing
there.
with mama? What I do?"
I went off
And
on
got
her,
out my way.
Everybody can get it.
Everybody catching this smoke.
put my finger in one of them face.
He told one of them to stop being a. What did you say? Stop it.
I've been a little old B.
And then
then through my shoulder and the other way. Get out my way.
That was really directed to her.
That was the line you didn't get to use.
The argument. And that was the moment I said,
I think that was
I ain't gonna never let these people push me to this level of anger and frustration no more. Ever. Never would I let them push me to this level. Ever again.
That is so funny. This is marriage. This is the reality, y'all.
And then
I was saved.
Let's talk about it.
I was saved full of the Holy Ghost. But not that moment.
Not right
the
there.
Holy Ghost.
And then that's the bad part.
He told me to hold my tongue, but I didn't.
The second one we had, I thought I was like, yeah, I got this. The kid's coming with me. Baby, I let him go, and the kid's like, we won't go with daddy. What you mean you want to go with your daddy?
I want to survive.
Well, get out the car then. They went on with their daddy.
They got out?
Yeah, they left me. They were like, I'm going to go with my daddy. I was like,
You too mad right now, Mom.
I was in shock. I was like,
Did you go ahead and take that walk of shame and drive off? Did you go ahead and...
They got out the car with their daddy.
She stayed at the house.
I stayed at the house and they left.
Oh.
They left, him and the kids.
Oh,
they were
okay.
like, we want to go with daddy. So they left.
Yo.
And then I got a phone call and had to drive to Louisiana the next day by myself.
Oh, yeah.
Because his daddy called me, told me, how you let them come without you? I was like, because I was mad at your son. He said, well, you get in the other car and you come.
No, oh,
was
man.
like, huh?
That backfired.
Yeah, it backfired terribly. I had to drive to Louisiana the next day by myself.
You had plenty of time to think about it.
I did. I had plenty of time to think about it by the time I got there.
Now I got to pay for oil changes of 2 cars, gas for 2 cars, all because of our argument. Lord, look how the devil move. Look how he work.
I don't know if that was the devil. I think that was God trying to, get it together.
We saved, though.
Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
was funny.
Marriage.
That is marriage. That is the point
One
of the
thing
podcast.
you can guarantee with us, you asked us, we gonna keep it real all day. Because I
That
don't
is
like when
marriage.
people try to sugarcoat. Like if I'm coming to you for something, don't sugarcoat it. Give
Right.
me the real.
Right.
Don't give me that sugarcoated version that ain't gonna help. That ain't gonna help me.
Right.
Right.
Like trying to pretend like you ain't never done anything. Oh, we've never argued.
You're
Girl.
lying.
Now why you
I would have been
lying
like,
in front
it's
of
okay. We're
God's
not going to record
children
today after all.
Yeah. Like, why you lying to
Y'all gonna
God's
get up here and lie.
children like that? Like, don't be doing that. That can't help nobody. The thing is that I'd rather me tell you our struggles to keep you from having to go through it if I can.
Right.
I'm not in the business of, well, I want them to go through it just like I did. No, that's not. I'm not
Yeah.
that. We not that kind. We not like that. And we're not gonna sit up here and tell you that it's always fun and glamorous in marriage either. We in
That's
this
so
thing for a
real.
long time, so
That is so real.
The kids.
And these
Because
another ones ain't got good sense. See, our kids are normal. They normal adults, pretty much.
pretty much.
Pretty much.
They normal
most
adults.
part.
You know, they're adults,
For the most
y'all. They're adults, y'all. But they normal adults, functioning adults. You know?
Yeah, they
One's
seem normal
married
to
with
me.
children. The other one, he's living his best single life, I guess. I don't know what he's doing. He's sneaky. So we don't be knowing what that boy be doing. I have to ping his phone to find out where he is.
Man, that is so real. You know, that really just kind of like it's full circle with what you were talking about at the beginning, like developing with each other.
Yes.
Right.
Like
Yes.
you don't know the strength of your marriage
No.
without ruptures.
Right.
You have to have ruptures.
Yep.
And you have to be able to work through the ruptures, acknowledging your fault, they fault, and even though it was their fault, you still just eat it, just take it on the chin sometimes,
Right.
because y'all are growing together and
Correct.
developing together, and it just strengthens the bond that y'all have between one another.
It does.
Because, well, I've seen you at your worst, and you seen me at mine.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Oh my
That's
God.
true.
But I think one of the things that bothers me is in this day and age, people gravitate towards people quickly and they haven't seen that person at their worst.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you don't know what you have until you've seen a person at their worst and come out of it or bounce back. How they handle certain pressures.
That's true.
How do they handle an argument? How do they handle not getting their way?
Yeah.
How do they handle things being on a downturn for a season,
That's
even if it's
correct.
just for a season? And some people, they're all in love because things are good.
Mhm.
Right.
But what happens when things go bad? Because things happen, life happens.
Yeah.
And you have to work through that stuff and still be in love, even when I can't pay this bill.
Yeah.
Or even
Right.
when
Yeah.
we can't get through this season. You know, we got to get through this season by the skin of our teeth or what have you.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, just having a tough situation to start from the beginning helped me to see that, man, we in it now. Wait until the Lord start moving and blessing.
Right.
You know, it's gonna get better. So yeah.
That's really good.
Oh man. So how can people find y'all? Get in touch with y'all.
Yeah. Where y'all be at?
Where
Where
y'all
you
be
pastor at?
My number 817 dollars.
All right. You get a number if you want to.
You can connect with us on social media. Our church's social media is our Forward Life Church on Facebook, Forward Life Church on YouTube, Forward LC Texas. TX on Instagram. All of our contact information are on those pages. The office's number and our social media handle. I'm Reko Holland, REKOHOLLAND, the one and only.
No, and hashtag.
Oh, hashtag From Scratch Preacher is my hashtag. You can go anywhere and hashtag that, and you're gonna see all my content.
From Scratch Preacher.
That's how you can connect with me.
From scratch. Now, before we get to you, Kysha, I didn't know your whole name was Noah Reko.
Yeah, yes, Noah Reko. Yes, sir.
I think.
Wait, whole name like that's the
like-
first and middle, or
No,
that's
no,
like
Nah, it's one.
That's
It's all
one
one
name.
word.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Noah Reko.
It's
Yeah.
Noah Reko. Is one word.
Yeah.
Huh.
NOAHREKO.
How did they make like what did they put
that come
together?
from?
It's pronounced Noriko, but they didn't know how to spell it. So they made it Noah. I guess you want to put Noah.
Wait, the
in
A
there.
wasn't supposed to be in the middle?
No,
Like
it's supposed to be NOREKO.
oh, Nori.
But it comes from a King Kong, not King Kong, Godzilla movie.
Oh, okay.
It's actually a
Japanese name. It's a Japanese name.
Noriko.
And
I
so
really like it though, for real.
Noriko, and
Noriko.
They
my
couldn't
sister's
spell it.
middle name is Moriko. So there was
Yeah, hers
there were
is
two
Mor-
twins.
Oh, they really
on the
liked
show
it.
They were twins.
called Noriko and Moriko. Now me and my sister, we're not twins, but they decided to name her Moriko as her middle name.
They really
and then
liked
when
that
I
name.
came along, they named me Noriko. So yeah,
He said.
but they
They
wanted.
really
I
liked
guess they wanted to put the Bible
movie.
in there, so they made it Noah Rico. But
That's what it was.
yeah,
that's what it
or
was.
Either they couldn't
They didn't
spell
put a
it, so
spell.
they
You know, we gotta spiritualize it a little.
you know when
Yeah.
they didn't have access to the script or nothing back then
Yeah.
to check the person's name or captions
That
that they could
is
put on the
funny.
screen back then. You know, this back in the 70s, man. Back in the 70s.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, man, Kysha.
I'm on social media as my name is spelled KYSHA, Kysha, and then it's Holland, HOLLAND. I'm not as active as he is. You're probably just gonna see the grandbabies on my page because we love the grandbabies.
Yeah, I know. Before we get out of here, how's that grandparenting life?
It's different, man. For me, I always wanted girls, and you know, I can remember when I first wanted a daughter. I was probably 13.
What?
I know it's horrible,
Man.
but I'm from the ghetto.
Wait,
That's
at
fair.
13.
It's
you
okay.
wanted a
I was like
daughter.
in 7th grade, man. I
He
wanted.
said 7th grade.
You got
Yeah, so-
married at 21. You move fast, brother.
I wanted a daughter, but I never had one. I even had some names
had names
thought
picked
out
out.
No.
at 13. But anyway, now having granddaughters, I finally get to enjoy that experience. And so when they say, what was this voice at when we were young? I put the
Yeah.
booming voice on you.
Yeah.
And now I got the baby voice.
Yes. It's when I can remember we first found out, and I think it was to the point when they told us when they were pregnant with Gianna, Reko was like speechless, which has never happened.
Mm.
So basically, you talk too much. That's what she said.
Well, I mean, he's never speechless. But when we opened our little packages and had our little cups telling us we was being promoted to grandparents, I remember being in shock going, what the heck?
Notice how they put it on you. You've been promoted.
Yeah,
like
you've
they
been
done made-
promoted.
like
That's
they
where the
done
cup. We still have those cups.
bumped
though.
you up.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
we actually still have those cups. But once I retired the day after Gianna was born. So Gianna was born on the 27th and I retired on the 28th. Pretty much I retired because I was eligible, but once I found out they were pregnant, that really helped my decision. And so one of the things I took joy in is I got to spend the first 10 months with taking care of her while they worked. And then of course I did a stupid thing and went back to work. So I haven't been able to do that with Rain, which Rain is actually named after Reko and my mom. But I have really enjoyed being a Nani. I'm Nani and that's Nano. For some reason, Gianna only calls Nano all day, all the time. But I actually didn't think I was going to enjoy it this much. But I couldn't even imagine not having the two of them. They just bring us so much joy. I love my sons, but I think I love these girls more.
Yeah, I think they've been replaced.
Well, just like y'all got promoted.
Yeah.
Well,
They know.
They got
y'all got
demoted.
promoted. They got demoted. Exactly.
They already know now that it's not even about y'all anymore. It's all about the girls. So we have thoroughly enjoyed being grandparents.
That's good.
Most people cannot believe that when they see us, they're like, "What do you mean you're grandparents?" And I was like, "Yeah,
y'all
we're
don't.
grandparents."
Yeah.
So most people don't believe that we're grandparents when we tell them, but we're happy grandparents. So we're real good with the two right now. I think 2 is enough. We can wait a little while for another.
Straight.
So we're good with the 2. So
Cool. Man, we really appreciate y'all coming on and talking.
I enjoyed y'all so
it's
much.
a privilege for being. We hang out anyway. Like
Yeah.
we
Yes.
try to have date nights and
Yes.
that kind of stuff with y'all. So you know we love being around y'all.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a blessing to have y'all on. Man, y'all funny. I forget how funny y'all are.
I know. I love y'all stories.
Oh man. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, just how much I love them.
Yep. So
We
man,
love y'all too.
Love y'all
Thank
as well.
y'all. Thank y'all. So, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all tapping in with us for this episode. Man, we'll have all their contact info down there in the description so you can connect with them and pop up and visit their church, Forward Life Church in Arlington. My brother Reko, he be preaching. As long as he got his monitor right there in front of him, he gotta have the monitor.
And it gotta be bass.
It's gotta be, yeah. But until next episode, man, we love y'all. Take it easy. Peace. Thank y'all so much for tapping in with the Left Hand Gang podcast.
Be sure to follow, like, subscribe, and rate us.
And lastly, please don't forget to check out our website. That's lefthandgang.co for merch and ways to stay connected.
Catch you next episode.
Gang.